if you are a federal employee and you and your spouse don't turn 65 close to one another, then you're going to be getting on Medicare at different times, which you got to understand the certain strategies to get the most out of your FEHB and Medicare at the same time. That's what we're going to dive into today. Now, if you're new here, so good to have you. My name is Dallin Hawes. I'm a financial planner who helps federal employees retire every single day, and I absolutely love it. Now, today's episode is actually based on a question we received from one of you folks that submitted, and there's actually a link in all our YouTube descriptions where you can submit questions that we base our future content on. So if you have a question, you want to see a video in the future on it, submit it. We can't make videos on all the questions we get because we get a lot of them, but we do our best to get the ones that are most beneficial for you. So the question today, they ask, next year in April, I will be 65, and my wife turned 65 in September. I'm on Blue Cross Blue Shield, and is there some way we can both wait until the end of the year to sign up for Medicare? I am a retired federal employee. That way we can start in January on the Aetna Advantage plan. Will we get a penalty if we wait? Great question. So long story short, they are not turning 65 at the exact same time, which is very normal, right? Very few spouses get on Medicare at the very same time. So let's talk through, if you don't get on Medicare at the same time as your spouse, what are the best strategies? And is there a way to get on Medicare at the same time in this situation when you don't turn 65 at the same exact time? Well, let's talk through a couple things. Number one, in this situation, this gentleman or lady is retired before they turn 65. It's obvious that they're about to turn 65 and they're already retired. Okay? So basically, here are the things to consider. There are different windows that you have to get on Medicare as federal employees. There's two different windows. Number one, if you are already, let me actually start here at the 7 months. If you're already retired when you turn 65, you have a 7-month window to get on Medicare, okay? So let's say your birthday is in January, okay? Your birthday is, let's go over here, okay? Your birthday is in January. Basically, the 7-month window for you when you turn 65 is you have the 3 months before January, and you have the month of January, and then you have the 3 months after January. So a total of 7 months total, okay? 7 months total to get on Medicare is the 3 months before, the 3 months after, and the month of your 65th birthday, okay? Again, that only applies if you are already retired when you turn 65. So if you retire at 62, this would apply to you. Once you turn 65, you got, again, that 7-month window around your 65th birthday to get on Medicare Part B without any penalties, okay? If you want to learn more about the penalties, I've got whole other videos on that. Check those out, okay? Now, when does this 8-month window come into play? So if you are working beyond 65, so let's say you continue working until 67. Well, in that case, there's actually no penalties for not getting on Medicare as long as you're still working for the federal government and on FEHB, okay? But the moment you retire from the government, then there'd be penalties if you waited. But you have an 8-month window to get on Medicare Part B if you work past 65, okay? So if you're retired before you're 65, you have a 7-month window around your birthday, okay? If you retire after 65, you have 8 months after you retire to get on Medicare Part B to not incur any penalties, okay? Now, long story short, to answer this gentleman's question, now that we have some background here, long story short, if your months, basically your windows of enrollment, don't line up with you and your spouse's enrollment periods, if they don't line up with each other, then you can't get on Medicare at the same time without incurring any penalties. There's no way just to wait till the end of the year and not incur any penalties. You're going to incur penalties if you don't get in Medicare Part B when you are supposed to. Okay, so that is the first thing to consider. Now, it's okay though, because this is very, very common. Basically, there are normally 3 different phases that happens because generally most spouses don't turn 65 near the same time. There's always a lag of some sort. So here are the 3 different phases. Number 1, there's the phase when both of you are on FEHB and no one is on Medicare yet. And of course, during that time, you just have an FEHB plan that works for both of you and it's relatively simple. You probably had this plan for a long time. You're comfortable with it. Okay. Next, phase number 2 is when you're on FEHB again. Okay, FEHB again. However, one of you have, let's say, turned 65, and so one of you is on Medicare. Okay, so one of you is on Medicare. So in this phase, you're going to want to find an FEHB plan that works well on Medicare and also works okay off Medicare. Because one of you is on Medicare, the other one of you isn't on Medicare yet. So again, you want to find a plan that is a nice hybrid that works well with Medicare and also works without Medicare. Okay, once, of course, both of you are on Medicare, right? Let's say now both of you are on Medicare, you both are 65 plus, both are retired, then you want to find an FEHB plan that is Medicare friendly, right? That is the most priority because you're on Medicare and you're on FEHB. So again, the 3 phases are neither of you on Medicare, one of you is on Medicare, and then both are on Medicare. And based on that, you find an FEHB plan to fill the gap. So FEHB plan that's fine without Medicare, FEHB plan that's fine with Medicare and without, and then lastly, find an FEHB plan that is definitely going to work with Medicare. So those are the 3 phases. Again, these are the enrollment phases you have, whether you are retired by the time you're 65 or you work past 65. So I hope that's helpful. Long story short, this is very common, and there's no way to just say, I'm not going to enroll right now and not get a penalty if you want to get in later. Okay? If you want to know more about picking an FEHB plan when it comes to being on Medicare, I've got whole articles and videos on that. You can check them out at hawsfederaladvisors.com. But I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.